Hello, everybody. Welcome out. Sorry for the delay. Good Monday morning. Welcome back to Mastermind Mondays with Brown's Pressure Washing here in Nashville. We appreciate all you guys being here. It is a beautiful / gloomy day here in Nashville, but we are ready to jump right in with you guys.
Maybe we should start off by just introducing who we are.
Yeah, I'm Brady Ridings, sales manager for Brown's Pressure Washing Nashville.
My name's Josiah LeBeau, operations manager.
And I'm Joshua, and I started the company about 6.5 years ago, and we've just been growing the ship ever since, trying to do our best to be a good business inside of our community. And so for Mastermind Monday, it is an opportunity for us to actually step into your business. And so it brings a ton of value if you'll list out any questions that you may have in relation to how to grow your business or struggles that you have. We're only going to be doing this for about another 47. I think we're at 46 weeks.
I think this is the 7th week, right?
Yeah. So for 52 weeks, we're basically giving away everything we know for free. And so that's going to be counting down. And we're about at 47, 46. And so if you've got any questions that you're dealing with, struggling with, if you know other pressure washing companies that are trying to grow or get started, tell them about this show. Have them step into the chat, ask any question. Also, you can email us with any questions that you might have. We're actually taking some of you to be actually guests on the show. And so if you're interested in being on the show, just send us an email and we'd love to step into your business. But with all that being said, today we're going to be starting a conversation about leadership, about what sets one company apart from another company. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of yard signs that are out inside the community, a lot of competition, a lot of trucks. And how do you differentiate yourself from one business to another matters. Mm-hmm. And so today I'm going to be asking a few questions. If you've got any thoughts that come up as we're asking questions, my man. Yeah, Brady.
I'm going to be answering questions in here. I do want to welcome everybody back who's been here. I see that Thomas Shots Everlasting is his name, but he said I came back with a regular account. We appreciate you being back. If you're back and you're not subscribed, it's going to be a vital thing for the success of your entire life to hit subscribe right now. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we go live or upload a video or anything in the nature. But it really does mean a lot when you guys come back in here and you're in the chat. Even when you're communicating with just each other, it means a lot to us. That's the kind of community online that we're all trying to create. So if you do have any questions, please ask Thomas at some point. I know we want to get you in here. And then Carson with All Seasons, we want to get you in. I don't know if you're in here or not, but see a bunch of people in the chat. We want to make sure to get all you guys in here at some point to be on the show. But without further ado, let's move on.
First question. This is actually a question that comes up a lot when we have people make comments on the show. And the question is this, and I'm going to direct this to Josiah. Brady, feel free to share anything that you might feel in regards to this. But Josiah, how do you think Brown's pressure washing sets themselves or ourselves apart from the competition on a daily basis?
That's a good question. There's a lot that could be dove into this, and there's a lot that doesn't really separate us from a lot of other companies at the same time. We all clean. We all use the same pressure washer. We all use trucks to transport equipment. But what I believe separates us is our culture and our team. The team that we have is high caliber and is just incredible. And so I would say the number one differentiator is our team.
All right. When you say that the difference maker might be culture or the team, what exactly do you mean by that? And so when someone says, hey, what is Brown's culture? And then how do you reinforce that type of culture? And what is the power of culture? Can you kind of dive into that conversation?
Yeah. So there's a lot there. I think that from a customer's perspective, they're really going to be able to tell a lot from a company just by someone stepping on their front doorstep. And so building a strong team and a strong culture will impact just the slightest interactions that people may have. And one of the big things that's huge in our culture is communication. And so the customer, before our technicians even show up on site, have already had great conversations with our office, great conversations with our sales team. And then when the technicians get there, they're going to have great conversations with the technicians. I always love to be on the team that has great morale. Like I'd rather have a team that has great morale than like good skill. And so, so I don't really remember the rest of the question, but
yeah. So Brady, when you're familiar with how we answer the phones.
Mm-hmm.
When someone answers the phone, do you think there's a touch of our culture on the phone?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here really quick to Thomas. We're going to hit these questions. Once we get like through a good thought process, we'll hit some of these questions that you guys are throwing in there. But to answer that question, I think too what Josiah is trying to say, and the way I would answer the question is, what is the business separator? What makes you unique? Like I call those things a business separator. So for us, from the top down, from how enjoyable the website is to inquire on, like how user-friendly is the website, to when they finally get a hold of an office administrator, making sure that if you have office administrators and if the office administrator is you, that you're smiling when you answer the phone. Tonality is huge for us in translating the type of communication that we want to have. So it does start from the top down. As soon as someone reaches out and Casey or Mika or Eli answer the phone, they've already started with an enjoyable experience. And then that process carries out through sales and arriving on site as a technician. And there's certain things we have put in there that make it a little bit more, it's not automated in the sense that it comes from the machine, but it's a standard. It's a system that everyone has to uphold to communicate.
Yeah. And so maybe the principle inside of here is think like a servant, so if you're trying to grow your business, think like, what would a servant do in this situation? And so if you've ever tried to call a corporate company, the last thing you want is somebody that doesn't understand what you're saying and you don't understand what they're saying. And so it's super valuable to have somebody that is there to listen, to understand, and to respond. And if no one is answering your phones, you're going to go to somebody else, or that person is going to call somebody else as well. So from when someone gives a call, make sure your phone script or the things that you're saying represent someone that's there to serve the individual. And so anything that we would encourage would start with a servant leadership mindset, which we believe gives birth to making the customer feel like they're cared for and loved. And so I think that's connected inside of that. Was there something
I've got a story to share that can help the perception from a customer standpoint. I think a lot of times, especially if you're a solopreneur and you're out there just trying to grind and you're trying to clean and sell and answer the phones and diffuse customers, that's a lot.
You're up on a ladder, and your phone's ringing, you got your hands in the gut and you're like, how do I answer this call?
Yeah, I don't want to breeze by that because we've got infrastructure that's set up at this point. It makes it a little simpler, but we've gotten to that place. Quick story. We bought a few new trucks. I'm, of course, the one who wrecked one, kind of, and I had to call a place to get it fixed. The girl answers the phone, and she says, "Hey, it's a great day at so-and-so business. I'm Ashley. How can I help you?" I'm not exaggerating. That is how she said, "It's a great day." My response was, "Is it?" And that may be like kind of mean, but I hope that she walked away from that phone call thinking, I mean, if you're going to either don't say the script at all, or say the script the way the script was written and invite customers into the great day of the story of the business. So I don't want to breeze by that, but I also know it's tough. As a solopreneur, you're out there doing everything that you can and doing all hats of the business. I do want to jump in. Thomas says, biggest struggles I've had is marketing. Love to know how you have started. Door hangers, door knocking, yard signs, Facebook ads, and all that stuff. I'll say one quick thing, and then he's kind of more of the marketing guru. We have videos that are up on the channel that kind of talk a little bit about marketing. And I want to say 2 weeks ago with Michael Grigory, there was a Monday morning Mastermind Monday that we did that's recorded now, that also, Thomas, you can go back and watch. That right there will probably answer most of the questions you have. But in short, from the grind up, I think is what he's asking.
So, Brady, I'm glad you mentioned the Memorial Day Mastermind Monday, which is a mouthful. Do check that out. The information that Michael shared, they have, somewhere around $8 million worth of Google ads that they oversee. They understand marketing. And so make sure you check that out. From the very beginning, I would go on Google. So getting started, I would go on Google and I'd type in door hangers, pressure washing, and then I'd flip through them until I found one that was sexy. And I was like, ooh, I like that. And then I contacted a friend of mine who knew how to create door hangers. You can use Vistaprint. They'll help you. And I said, I want something that looks like that. And so if you find a template that you find on YouTube or on Google or in some type of search engine, use what's there. And then every time you pressure wash, go ahead and take 15, 20 minutes and go door hanging. It might sound like the last thing you want to do after you clean a house, but it's the first thing you need to do after you clean a house. And when I started the business, we had a nice little community in Hendersonville. And after I cleaned the house, I also have my kids with me and they might door hang while I'm wrapping up the job. And so also reached out to some kids in the local high school. Cross country kids are great at this, and pay them to go door hang. And so this would be a way of getting your information out. But I think door hangers and Facebook are two of your best free-ish, door hangers. Once you pay for them, then you just, it's just your time. And then also Facebook, getting the word out inside of your community pages is massive in growing your company. We're also reworking our website, where we're going to end up giving away a lot of tools as it relates to sales and marketing. And I've even been processing this question right here, and I'm going to say it. No, I won't say it. No, I'm going to say it. I've been processing this right here. What if we created our own marketing page where you could put in your logos or your phone numbers, and we give you our door hangers, and you're able to purchase them right from our website using your phone numbers and stuff like that. So what we've learned, we can end up passing it on through that page. Something I'm chewing on. It might be a good idea.
Good. No, I love throwing that stuff out.
It's
Thomas also asked, at what point do you guys recommend hiring for things such as someone to answer the phones? When did Josh know he was ready to hire for that? I will let you speak into that a little bit more as well, but I want to say really quickly, I think a lot of times the worry of having to provide for someone that you want to hire outweighs what it takes after you do that to figure that out.
Right.
And I'll let you touch into that too. I've got some opinions, but
yeah, Thomas, I would say as soon as possible. And one of my issues is I didn't want to hand my phone over to somebody else. I remember driving around with my wife, Jennifer, and somebody would call and I would chat with them. I'd get to know them. I'd find out how they found out about me. And I built a relationship over the phone when they're just calling into the business line. And then I would hang it up and I'd look at Jennifer and I'd say, that's why I'm not going to have anybody answer our phones because nobody can do it the way I do it. Why are you laughing?
It's just funny because how many people we have answering our phones now.
But the feeling was that no one will be able to build a relationship and care for the customers like me.
Yeah.
And what you learn in leadership is 80% done is 100% freaking awesome. And so if someone can just do a percentage of what you can do, then that can be freaking awesome. And so think like this, not just grabbing your phones. And so this is how I did it when I transitioned. I had a great phone person start grabbing the phones. It was my sister. She did a phenomenal job loving the customers, answering their questions, and she cared. So having a family member that might be willing to help out.
She picked up every time too.
And she picked up every time.
Man, that phone rang for 2 seconds.
Yeah. So she represented, she was beautiful. And I paid her to start out with $5 per estimate that she would answer. And so I was paying her based on just getting information down, getting a lead, and allowed me to follow up later. As it grew, I'm like, okay, if she's answering the phone 3 times an hour, Or if there was administrative jobs that I could give her, now we're talking, we could think about an hourly position. And then what does that look like? And so it might start off by testing it, but I would make sure it's somebody that represents you, your culture, someone you can trust, someone that will love you and your business, and just slowly do it. And so for me, as soon as you can, the better, and then give them other jobs, whether it's trolling Facebook, whether it's posting for you, whether it's uploading Google photos onto your Google profile manager, make sure you have one. These are the things that are going to help you scale and grow. But if you're thinking like I thought, you're thinking not like a leader, but like a someone that's holding on to something. And once I gave that away, which it hurt a little bit, I freed myself up to focus on other portions of the business that only I could focus on, and not an admin or someone that can grab the phone. Right. I hope that helps out.
No, that was really good.
Yeah, I think that explains it really well. I also think if I could give kudos to Josh in any area of his life, is he's an expert at replacing himself now. And I think knowing that if that person does not answer the phones the way that you would, it's still your fault for not training them to take that, and you have extreme ownership over that person. You wouldn't allow just anybody to answer the phones without any training. There is a certain type of way that you want that done. And I would say a lot of times in your mind, you may think this person won't do it that way. He's definitely come to learn this way better than us, but we're starting to see where it's like what you think you can control really limits the area you manage if you're constantly doing all of the work. And most people are smarter than you give them credit for, and you're not as smart as you're giving yourself credit for a lot of times, meaning people can do things well also. So the worry that they won't is almost a little bit of a lie, depending upon who you hire and how you train them.
Yeah, and knowing yourself and what you're good at will indicate what areas you should give up first. So if I'm unorganized, if I'm not great at getting to the phone, maybe the first person to be in that position is a phone person. Your first hire wasn't a phone person though. You stayed on that. You hired someone for the field first, because you recognize that your strength was building relationships. Maybe your strength wasn't cleaning or paying attention to detail. I'm not saying you got great strengths. You got great strengths, but maybe they're not cleaning.
Sales was my weakness.
Yeah, well, sales that one too.
Not but that I couldn't sell. I just couldn't make money in the sale.
He could sell jobs for free.
Yeah,
because I love people.
But he's also really good at recognizing a position needs to be there, and putting someone in that position, even if that position is not fully created yet, but getting creative and figuring out how to bring revenue in that position is huge. So like the 3 phone calls an hour, that's not enough phone calls for a full-time person. But he's saying, okay, well, while we wait for more phone calls, go ahead and do these actions to generate revenue, generate leads, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And so think of any huge business that you look up to. They don't have they didn't get there because the person who started the business kept everything in their own lap. The more that you give out, the larger it grows. And when you were chatting, I almost think it's like a sink or swim type.
Dude, it is, man. I would say Josh has trusted the both of us with more than I would trust myself with. And I think knowing that failure is going to happen, as long as you learn something in the failure, it makes kind of the failure worth it. And so allowing people to fall, it has to happen. You're going to fall too.
Yeah.
Freeing yourself up to do things you're great at and allowing others to fail in an area where you want them to learn is superior.
Not doing that could be a failure in itself.
For sure.
The failure of not putting someone in that position soon enough. I mean, you could be probably the biggest one.
I remember when you first hired me for sales, I was coming up with some different numbers, and I would look back at things that Josh would have priced the year before. Yeah. And when the owner comes out to price something, people feel special about it. And so they would say, "Oh, that's not what Josh charged me." And I'm like, I kept calling him all the time, and eventually he was just like, He just said, I trust your judgment with what your area is more than I trust my own. Whatever you would do, I would do. So like, just do it. And it put this trust in me that was like, okay, this is my area.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm supposed to build. And now it went from me doing sales to we've got 3 people doing sales now. 4 if you count me a little bit. But the team has grown because he trusted so much with the areas he knew he wasn't excellent at. And he definitely allowed us to fail quite a bit in that. It doesn't mean we don't fail now, but it was the early failures and saying, hey, this is your thing, you know?
Yeah. So Thomas, real quickly, let me give you a tool that you can utilize in order to determine your next hire. It's called Identify, Transfer, and Fill. And so what I want you to do is to identify all the small little tasks that are taking time away from things that bring you energy and bring you money. Once you identify those things, transfer it to your admin, transfer it to somebody else that can end up taking back that time, where then you're able to fill your time with the things that bring you the most amount of value. And so early on, the thing that's going to bring you the most value is probably doing the job and selling the job. And so try to identify all the little things that you absolutely hate that take up your time, transfer it to an admin to grab your phones, and then fill your time with as much activities that bring the highest amount of value. And you constantly do that in order to win the game. And so you go from step A to step B to step Z of growing a massive empire by constantly learning how to identify the things that are sucking your time and money, transferring it to somebody that can do it maybe a little bit better than yours and better than you, and then fill your time with the things that bring you the most joy and revenue at the same time. Those things got to be a match. So let's go on and go to the second question, unless y'all had something else to add on that.
Only if you're enjoying the content, make sure to hit subscribe and stick around and ask some questions in here if you do have more.
Yeah. And so to finish that question, the thing that separates Browns from other companies could be the ability to train others, to release others, to communicate, servant-minded leadership. I think that was a big deal. For me, when I first started the company, I felt like my number one goal was to spend time with God each morning. If I spent time with God when I met my team, I then had something to give that they couldn't get from just anywhere. It's something that's like, I spent time with God. Now I share maybe what's on my heart. We pray together, and then you send them out. And it felt like we were doing something of value versus going and washing the house. It felt like we were going to go love and serve people or providing jobs. I think that's a difference maker inside of Brown's Pressure Washing. Question number 2 is going to go to Josiah. The thought is that every company communicates to their customers. How does that look different from a normal company engaging with their customers? That's the question marks. Give me an example of how that is done. One for your sales team and one for your field team. Doesn't every company talk to their customers? How does our conversation look different than other companies that are having conversations? So compare, contrast.
Yeah. So I'll speak from operations side, and maybe Brady can speak from sales side. Operations side, our number one goal is to earn a 5-star review. And if you go through our reviews, the number one most mentioned thing is communication. They're very timely, and they, serve very well, and they clean very well. And so communication is huge. That communication doesn't stop when they get on site. Yes, they let them know, hey, we're going to be late. Hey, we're going to be early. Like, those are things that probably already separate us from other competition, because people don't know the value behind that. They just give, and we don't have to do it because we give them a big window. We give the customers a big window of when we'll get there. I think it's like an hour, right, Brady?
Roughly 2.
It's like an hour to 2 hours window. And if you've ever had a refrigerator repairman, or like I wasn't going to say the other company's name, but like a Wi-Fi company come out, and they're like, yeah, we'll be there between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's like, well, shoot, how are we supposed to know, like, if I can go to the grocery store or not? Keeping them updated is the most important thing before arriving. Once you're on site, our team will identify what are some of the main concerns that this customer has. That way they don't spend most of their time focusing on something that the tech might seem to be important, but the customer might be like, I sit on the front porch, I drink coffee every morning, and I want the front porch to look perfect, not the back fence. And so identifying the most important areas to be cleaned, and then also updating the customer.
Now I'm going to read a review, and this was a 3-star review that came in about a week ago. And so I'm going to share online what this review was. It was not a 5-star review. It was not a 4-star review. It was a 3-star review. And you can also learn what ticks somebody off by reading the reviews. And so I'm going to read this review, and then this kind of gets into this conversation. Brown's was very friendly and did a good job on the roof and the house. They did their best on the brick patio. My only complaint is they didn't tell me, which is the C word, to cover my plants and flowers when we were cleaning. Even during the treatment, they didn't mention anything that could potentially harm them. I was assured it wouldn't harm them at all. Turns out the solution burned the vegetation and it dripped from the overspray. This is a roof clean. It's a house wash. These things can happen. The flowers and plants, they'll come back, but not until after my party, which is why we were having the cleaning to begin with. This could have easily been avoided. The number one reason we did not earn a 5-star review was because we did not
tell them,
communicate.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, that's huge.
Jump into that a little bit and
No,
then
explain
into the sales side. No, there is an explanation in that there's 2 failures. There's not a lot of success in that. Cool, you pressure washed well. In my opinion, there's not a lot that's proprietary about pressure washing. Maybe systems, you could say, cool. What's proprietary is how you treat a customer in a home service business, because all the home services are the same. So in my opinion, there's 2 failures there. There's one on the salesman for also saying, I assure you this won't happen. We don't say that. We do not say that. It definitely can happen, but with our systems, we work really hard to prevent it. So we kind of sold them assurance where we shouldn't have. So there's failure in that part, but there's also failure in the side of the technician to do whatever. But ultimately, there's failure most of all in communication. Getting ahead of problems really kind of neutralizes the problem when it happens. It's when a homeowner has been at work all day, they come home, they've not been communicated to that these things are happening or have happened, and then they see it and go, where are these guys and why are all my plants dead? If there could have been different or better communication on the front end, it probably could have at least helped solve them rather than allowing someone to come home, not communicating with them and them just discovering it. But on the sales side of the communication thing, for us, we operate on the 3 C's, which is constant, clear communication. Our whole team operates that from within the business with each other and to the customers. So one of the reasons that was developed on the sales side was I was sitting at home one day and a furniture company, I'm just going to say it, Rooms to Go, was bringing me a couch. This was during COVID, so it came in like 5 different installments. And every time it was an all-day event because they would send me a 7-hour window and then be late and not tell me. So I literally just knew, okay, I need to get up at 6 a.m. and I need to sit here all day because I have no clue when they're coming. And I said, we will never do that to people. So we built a message that goes out every morning that's not automated. Theirs was automated. So it sent a link to where you go view the message, doo-doo water. We send a text. It is copied and pasted, but it's from the salesman's phone that says, hey, Mrs. Jones, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm planning to be there in a 2-hour window. If I'm going to be early, I'll let you know. If I'm going to be late, I'll let you know. The ETA is very dependent upon traffic and how other routes go, so I will keep you posted. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you.
That's good.
You have to hold yourself accountable as the salesman or technician to do the due diligence of when you're not going to make that window. You have to let them know. People aren't mad when people are late. They're mad when they're late and they don't tell them. People are very understanding of stuff, but giving a 2-hour window holds you accountable to getting there at a certain time. And it also creates a little bit of a buffer where if you like, I think I could make it by this time, don't promise people stuff. You're just going to let them down.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a grace period, but hold yourself accountable to be there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I feel like, was there any comments or anything from that?
No, looks good. Thomas has followed up, said he enjoyed it. He said there's a lot. He's not great at it business, but hey, we're all just kind of figuring it out.
I'd like to hear next Monday what you get figured out. If you identified a position that you're like, all right, this is my next position that I'm going to build out. I'd love to see you bring that to the table next week.
Yeah. You've got people all around you that you can reach out to that would
Mm-hmm.
grab the phones. You've got moms that wouldn't mind making some money while they're taking care of kids. And so you've got the ability to find folks to replace you in areas.
I would say when you hear office worker, you think an office, but all of our office administrators work remote, and 2 of them are moms with multiple children, and they love the flexibility and the freedom, and they do an excellent job at what they do.
Yeah. So think outside the box. Don't think, okay, where are they going to be at? They have to come to my house. I have to set up a table and a computer. No, they can work from their home. They know how to do. COVID kind of broke down the walls as far as what is normal or what's not normal. And we've found people that you would never have answering the phones and taking care of our customers inside of an office. But if you gave them an opportunity to work from home, it's a game changer. And so think outside the box. All right, third question. So tell me and tell our friends, what is one of the best things that the 3 C's have done for our company? We'll start with Josiah.
For this question,
we're a little over on the 9:30, but it's okay. We can go to 9:45.
That's a lot to unpack. Still,
that question could be a whole episode because the butterfly effect, I think, of the 3 C's is I have to think on it. It's
okay, I've got something that'd be cool.
All right, yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so the 3 C's, constant, clear communication, requires your team to work on themselves in areas that they're inconsistent with. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things is just personal leadership development. Like when you're cleaning the house and you realize you're going to be an hour or 2 hours late to your next job, the last thing you want to do is turn things off, go to your next customer and give them a phone call and an update, because it slows you down from knocking out the job. But it's the very thing that's necessary in order to grow your company and get good feedback and expectations.
We say here, don't let life happen to you, let life happen for you. If you do not inform customers, you're going to let customers happen to you and not for you, because ultimately, I would say my takeaway from that is there's no telling how many issues you can get down to revenue that it saved you because communication diffused the problem. It's insurmountable. You couldn't count it unless you never did it. I know that when we started prioritizing that, plant callbacks, angry reschedules, cancellations all went down. If
dramatically
we'd have thought more about it in the beginning of how it would impact us, we probably would have had a track record of how much it diffused without knowing it. And so I think utilizing that new thing that could be said is you're letting customers happen for you and not to you when you communicate with them.
Yeah. So my argument for that question, one of the best things it does, it gives an opportunity for the individual to grow as a leader. And I don't know many things you can do outside of helping somebody get better than to make them do things that they don't normally want to do. And so that I feel like that's one thing, because if you're able to communicate to your customer, it might teach you how to be a better communicator to your parents or to your spouse or something.
That's so
that
good,
area.
actually.
Yeah.
That is the butterfly effect.
That's super true. It's definitely gone a lot farther than work for me. I was telling a friend of mine the other day that I would my wife's name is Jennifer. I would shield her from the stress that would be in my head. I think I was saving her from it. And so I wouldn't, because the way she processes information is different than the way that I process information. But upon further review, I don't think I really knew how to communicate it well. And I've learned here very recently, within the last like 5 to 6 weeks, of the timing of when to communicate, how to communicate it with the right tonality, with the right body language, actually represents a lot more acceptance and less pushback, or like, oh, we need to do this.
A lot more trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it actually gives her an ability to then communicate back. That's super good. Yeah, it definitely has spanned outside of work, which is really special.
Yeah. One of our newest full-time team members. You've got a question?
They're talking about my mustache.
We're not talking about. There's things we don't talk about. It's Chuck Norris.
I think they're talking about mine.
So, anyway, and so one of our newest team members, he shared one of the reasons he wanted to come work at Brown's is because he saw the difference that we made inside of his spouse's life, and how our company loved her. It made him want to be a better man at home. And so this company culture, conversation, or leadership, it really does have to do with everything. It's like, yeah, we're talking about business, but we're really talking about interpersonal growth, and your leadership is everything. Yeah. And so I want to thank you for joining us on the show. I'm wondering if we should continue or wrap it up for here.
I mean, I feel like we've still got things to talk about. Josiah never really shared his. I say we keep going.
Did you?
And I would say, like, one side tangent a little bit on the communication side, leadership development is twofold. So we do something here called leadership development, where we go through 6 books a year, 5 something. We go through different books. The point is, if you're a solopreneur and let's say you don't have a team, if you're not running yourself through leadership books, you're missing the mark for sure. The game changer of the effect that it has on your brain is outstanding. Podcasts are great, and I think that's good to fill the time with. But if you're not sharpening your skills and deciding who you want to be as a leader, you're kind of missing the mark. But one thing that leadership development has done outside of that, it has opened people's shell around the table who normally weren't good or comfortable with public speaking, to feel like inside of a room where they're comfortable that they can publicly speak. We've got some guys on the team that they're inherently kind of quiet. They're not the guy who wants to constantly communicate, but it has really opened up an area for communication to take hold there.
That's really good. And I think we're actually going through the book, Help I Work With People. And literally the first chapter is like, the first stage of leadership is leading yourself. And I mean, challenging yourself, holding yourself accountable. Like, those are all things that you need to do before you can effectively lead, or most effectively lead your team or someone else. And so setting up those building blocks so that by the time you do bring on your first team member, you're primed, you're ready to go. You know what leadership looks like, because you've been leading yourself and your family, waiting for them to join the team.
Getting ahead of the curve. Good morning, Abigail, Scott, Wesley. Thank you guys so much for being in here and interacting in the chat. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like I need a cup of water. Whether you like it or not, you are a leader. And many times we don't foresee ourselves as leaders because we're not necessarily inside of a leadership role, or we think. I do need to drink that. Okay. Josiah, who's made the big? I'm sound like I smoked a pack of cigarettes today. When you think of, like, as a child, who are some of the influential leaders in your life?
Definitely my parents.
Bam.
My dad led us very well.
Yeah. And so everyone would say, I saw my mom, I saw my dad, I saw a coach, I saw a teacher. Leadership is not necessarily a title, but it's the way that you handle yourself in any given situation. And so if you're in on the show, watching it, you are a leader. And once you identify that you are a leader, why not be the best leader that you can be by investing in yourself? And today I sat dumbfounded inside of our leadership development room, watching one of our guys not know what leadership book that we were going through. and they said something about it costing $10 to $15. And I'm like, you're letting $10 to $15 to cripple your growth of leadership. Like, why wouldn't you want to know what you don't know and get better at what you don't know? To me, it's absolutely a no-brainer. Warren Buffett was asked the following question: is there anything that you would give for all of your wealth? He looked at the gentleman who asked the question and said, "How old are you, sir?" The gentleman said, 27. He said, "I would give everything I own today to be your age with what I know today." And that teaches me immediately that it's not wealth that gets you wealth. It's knowledge. Why not invest in yourself? Get you the knowledge. 10 to 15 bucks while you're washing a house is like an investment inside of you and your future and how much you're worth and what you're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah.
It just makes zero sense. And so buy books. Let me give you some. Am I getting upset?
No, I think it's good because you're really passionate about it. I would say, to put a spin on it, one thing to trick your mind into thinking about this, because people think about money in different ways. The way to look at that, it doesn't cost $15.
Right.
It is an investment. It's not a cost. What you will yield a return that is much greater than $15.
Right.
If you just buy the book. But taking a moment to shift your mindset from that things cost money to they get to happen for you because you have $15 to spend. It's from the cost to investment. I would say add that into what that is, but take the passion of like, you're silly if you don't buy these books. It's your fault.
I think when I started doing a lot of, pressure washing and cleaning while all my other friends were going to college and getting degrees and I'm cleaning driveways, I felt the burden too. I was like, I cannot use this time and not educate myself and not build what I know. You've got such great opportunity to go into, like what Thomas was saying, Audible podcasts. I mean, that's such a great format to learn from. So yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And I would argue that one of the greatest works in the history of humanity is the work of Proverbs that's found inside of Scripture. And inside of it, it says, get wisdom, get understanding, do not forget my words or swerve from them. And it's like, if you read the Old Testament, there's this reminder that everything that we're doing is trying to seek, to learn, to grow, to get wisdom. Why not invest inside of yourself by replacing the garbage that we listen to with things that are actually going to help produce fruit inside of our lives? And so for me, it's like this no-brainer. Brady, do you have like 2 or 3 books that you're currently going through?
Yeah, I'm going through Help I Work with People for the 3rd time. I'm going through $100 Million Offer by Alex Hormozy. I'm going through 10X is Easier Than 2X, How to Grow Your Small Business, and Family Driven Faith right now.
Oh, so good.
So there's a lot, and I utilize different chunks. So like the weekends, I'm one of the guys who likes to do his own lawn work. These guys would probably call me stupid for doing this. They were wasting their time. Pay somebody $50, utilize the time elsewhere. I utilize it for books. It's one of the only like 2-hour blocks I have where, my daughter's sleeping, my wife is doing something productive on her own, and it's like kind of my own time. So I use it for different chunks like that. I'm usually an advocate for going through one book at a time, but at this point, there's just too many of them that I have to take them in bite-sized chunks and listen to what I'm desiring at that point.
Okay. What books are you going through right now? Anything that's different than what he said?
I don't think so. How to Grow Your Small Business.
Yeah.
10X is Easier Than 2X. Started that yesterday while I was rolling my ankle. And then Help I Work with People.
Yeah. And just a couple more that I'd add into it. Lead Like Jesus would be a book that I'm working through. Buy Back Your Time. Phenomenal book.
I really do want to get into that.
We're going to get there, but right now let's master a few of
other books.
Start another book.
I do want to say, if you're just jumping in to the chat, thank you for being here. What we're talking about right now is what are business separators for us from the other pressure washing companies, because there's 100 here in Nashville. And we're talking, hundreds but there's also so much room for competition.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places. Thomas says the Bible will be on my reading list this year. That's awesome, man. I would highly advise that you do that. That is a good instructional book to start.
Hey, and let me tell you an easy way to do it that doesn't get into fistfights if you talk about it, is whatever day of the week it is, read that proverb. And so if today is the 12th, just go to Proverbs 12. You don't have to read the whole thing. Just read a little bit until you end up saying, ooh, that's good.
Man.
And then meditate on it. That's it.
Thomas is also reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a really good one. He's in that one right now.
Classic. You could live inside of that.
Yeah.
I feel like if Josiah was to write a book, it would be How to Win Friends and Influence People. But let me ask the fifth question that we have for today, and that kind of closes out our day. You have established, and we'll ask this to Josiah first and then go to Brady. You have established that the 3 C's, constant, clear communication, make a huge difference and can fix even poor reviews. But don't you think that maybe it is over communicating? Doesn't it bother the customer even if, a little to constantly be communicating and updating them?
I have only had a few, like 2 or 3 times where someone has said too many messages. And that is actually never a result of someone sending a message, but our system will will send automatic messages if we don't turn off a certain notification, and they would end up getting like 100 emails from us saying that you've been rescheduled, you've been scheduled for this day, you've been scheduled. And it's like, all right, that's way too much. I have never ever experienced a time where someone has said, you call me too much and you text me too much with updates on how the job is going. They're like, that is so awesome. Thank you for texting me. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for the before and after pictures. They are so grateful for it. And I would be too.
Guys, I would much rather be known as the company who over communicates than the one who under communicates. You know why? Because the companies who under communicate are not known. They don't grow. You don't get reviews for under communicating. Man, this company really didn't tell me what was going on. I loved it.
Brady,
don't do that.
Have you ever seen the movie Troy?
I mean, it's been years.
I haven't seen it ever, but there's this one scene in there. What's the main character in it? Anyways,
it's my brother.
Anyway,
my brother, Brad Pitt.
anyways, this warrior suiting up to go out, and this messenger boy runs out to tell him that he's ready to fight, and the warrior's on his horse, and he's like, he's the biggest enemy that I've ever seen. I would never go out and fight him. And the warrior goes, and that's why no one will remember your name, and rides off. And so doing hard things, doing things that require courage or discipline will end up creating a memorable name to those people around you. Man,
ultimately, people want to know what's going on. They're hiring you to know what's going on. And especially if you're away at work and you've got someone saying, hey, I know you're not going to be there. I just wanted to let you know I'm about 12 to 14 minutes away from your house. I mean, you want to talk about a business separator. These people are keeping you informed even when they know you're not going to be there. Mm-hmm. If you want to win, communicate. Mm-hmm. If you want to lose, don't communicate. You don't win that way. Mm-mm. And it's just the right thing to do. You feel better about it. It breaks the ice. It builds a rapport before you ever step on site. I mean, it already separates you when you communicate with the customer before you ever show up. It does the selling and the cleaning and the review getting for you.
Yeah. And if you're too busy to communicate, create automated systems that'll help you communicate. So for example, grab your phone and create some type of text that you can respond immediately. So let's say that you're on a roof, you're cleaning it, your phone's ringing. There's no way that you can grab it. Send the automated text that says, hey, Mrs. Jones, is it okay if I call you back in call you back in 10 minutes, or as soon as I get done with this house, ? That can be automated. And responding that in the midst of a phone call, you're going to be more likely to get that person to not call somebody else when they ring your phone.
Absolutely.
And so create systems where you can at least send it until you end up finding the person that you want to invest in to represent your company.
That's good.
I'd like to say one last thing before we close out that helped me understand better. We were at, and if you guys are not coming to Nashville for the huge conference, you should rethink that. It's a very awesome, huge pressure washing conference. Huge. Pressure washing conference. Lots of great teaching on marketing, sales, cleaning, all that stuff. We went last year. And we stepped inside of a room where this guy talked about, I think he called it the ideal technician tool bag or something like that. What he said that I took away was soft skills are 85% of what you do and 15% is technical. Everybody knows the driveway is going to get clean. Everybody knows the house is going to get clean. It's the other 85%. And the soft skills are communicating. Tonality and body language go into that. That could be a deeper conversation. Start with sending text and letting customer know your whereabouts. That's the 85% of the job. 15% is technical and cleaning. The rest of it's communication.
Thomas, I think it's August 9th. Is that when the
type in the huge conference, Nashville, Tennessee. You'll find it inside of
link to that
of
in here?
Google, and
we'll get a link posted in the chat. We will be there. Me and Josiah for sure will be. He is not going to be there.
I have no idea.
He might. Who knows? We will be there. So if you guys are going, Thomas especially, come find us, man. We love to hang. We can take you out to lunch and just hang out.
That would be cool.
Do something fun. So if you guys are going to be there, make it a point to reach out to us. Even if you email the YouTube account, we'll get notified of it.
Hey, one thing we're trying to get some love from YouTube. We believe we're updating phenomenal content and videos. If you haven't checked out our videos, please do. Tons of wealth of knowledge and information. Show us some love by hitting the like, subscribing, interacting, making comments. If you're watching this outside of our live time, why not go ahead and consider being here live? We meet every Monday, Central Standard Time, 9 to 9:30. And during this time, you can present any question that you might have. But we're doing this to grow our culture and our community and getting better. We would love to see more businesses operating with this clear, constant communication.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, our society and our cultures get better. We believe if the leader gets better, our culture and our homes and our society gets better. So show us some love, share what you're learning. And if you know any other pressure washing companies, make sure they know about Brown's Pressure Washing. And until next time,
peace.